Once again, please thank our trio for joining us today. At this time, I'm going to ask Ray Gonzalez to please share land acknowledgement.
If you haven't already, please silence your cell phones.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Before I even start, a couple of quick announcements. Right in the gallery, just down the hall, Jody Connolly runs the gallery. She's amazing. There's a permanent collection show on exhibit right now. Sierra College has been supporting the arts for decades, and the show is dynamite. The next show coming up is by Elizabeth Higgins O'Connor. She teaches at UCD, and that's coming. So thank you for coming. I just wanted to give you a plug for the gallery because it's right there. Before you go to lunch, stop in and say hi to Jody. Thank you for coming. We do need to do a land acknowledgement about who was here right in this spot. So here goes. With respect, we acknowledge the Rocklin campus of Sierra College as a traditional and unceded land of the Nisenan and Miwok peoples. The secret ravine, known in Nisenan as Hoyok, is home to an ancestral village site protected for generations by local tribal nations and their members. Sierra College commits to an ongoing relationship with the United Auburn Indian community and other local tribes, and to respect the legacy of the first peoples of this land and their future generations, who are an integral part of the Sierra College community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. So you are in for a treat today. I am Tawana Armstrong. I'm board chair for the Arts Council of Placer County. Thank you again for choosing to accept our invitation to join us for today's conversation. We know your time is valuable, and we want to make sure that what you're sharing with you today, it does impact Placer County, and all of us in the room know that we want to preserve the quality of life in Placer County and to make sure that it's a destination place for arts. So thank you. You are in for a treat. We're going to hear from Randy Cohen, who is the VP of Research for the Americans for the Arts. A couple of people, we know you are VIPs, but we've got some people that we want to make sure that we recognize as well. Sacramento Alliance for the Regional Arts partnered with us today. Is Bill Blake here by any chance yet? Oh, not yet? Okay. So our Placer County Board of Supervisors could not do it without you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And we know we let President Duncan thinks that he's in charge. I know we do, but we really and truly want to make sure that Sierra College, for being a fabulous host today, there's one person in particular, and that is Stacy. Please join me. She's amazing. She took care of us. They didn't just open the doors, but they lit their full support. And again, we could not do it without you. So thank you. And you can please tell President Duncan I said that too, that we let him think that he's in charge. Okay. So.
For you. Oh, goodness. Oh, nice. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Maya Angelou said, all great artists draw from the same resource, and that resource is a human heart, because that tells us that we're more alike than we are unalike. Our conversation today is not a one and done. Our conversation today is an opportunity to just begin to embark on what that quality of life may look like here in Placer County. We know we need everyone in this room to work with us, so we ask you to please connect, collaborate with all of your colleagues. It's going to be a wonderful day. You'll get some wonderful, wonderful information to share. So at this time, I'm going to ask Rebecca Bokikio, VP of Instruction, to please come up and welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Rebecca Bokikio. I'm Vice President of Instruction here at Sierra College, and I just want to say how pleased we are to be able to partner with the Arts Council of Placer County to host this, this presentation today. And I do have a couple of quick introductions. We do have a couple of our Sierra College trustees here. So Carrie Dawson-Bartley. And is Jocelyn here? Jocelyn Hernandez? Okay. So our student trustee, Jocelyn Hernandez, will be here later. So we all want to join together in welcoming you to Sierra College. The arts are undeniably impactful, both on a personal, human level and also on the regional level for our economy and for our culture. And we're going to hear about some of those impacts today. But I just want to take a second and talk about the ways that Sierra College serves as a space in higher education for engagement with the arts, both for students and community. Whether we have students who are majoring in arts and they're going to go into a career that is arts related, or if we have community members who just want to come and try their hand at a new skill. For our students, they can take our credit classes. We have a robust offering of classes in the arts, including in art, ceramics, fashion design and merchandising, photography, applied art design, music, theater. Those are just some of our offerings. And students can take those classes as part of GE for transfer, as electives, or of course as part of their major, if that's the career that they're going into and to transfer. We have OLLI courses for older adults where students can take classes in things like creative writing, literature review, nonfiction writing, and musical performance options, including our affiliation with the Placer Pops Chorale. And community education also offers a variety of creative arts classes in things like calligraphy and knitting and dance and music and photography. But of course, you do not have to be a student to engage with the arts here at Sierra. We have performances, many performances every semester. We have Guys and Dolls, the musical, opening on March 29th down at Dietrich Theater for 9 performances. We already heard about the Ridley Gallery, which is right out here to your right. And our student show, our juried student show, opens on April 29th. And today they've got a display of some of the art in our permanent collection. So take a few minutes on your way to lunch and check it out. And then we also, if you enjoyed the music today that you heard, on May 4th, we have our Sierra College Jazz Night. And that is where all of our jazz performance ensembles put together a beautiful performance, wonderful performance of music every semester. So we're really pleased to have so many leaders here to engage in this conversation about the impact of the arts in Placer County. Sierra College is just happy to be part of that conversation, so thank you again for coming. And I'm very happy, and it's my honor to introduce Placer County Supervisor Suzanne Jones.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today as we acknowledge the symbiotic relationship between arts and culture and economic prosperity in Placer County. I want to start by expressing my gratitude to Tawana Armstrong, Chair of the Arts Council Board. Thank you, Tawana. Tawana, your visionary leadership has been crucial in nurturing a vibrant arts scene that benefits us all. We're here to recognize not only the aesthetic and inspirational value of the arts, but also their growing contribution to our economy. Our collaboration with the Arts Council and our participation in the Arts and Economic Prosperity 6 study, led by Randy Cohen, spotlight the economic significance of nonprofit art. The initiative is a testament to our commitment to the arts and their integral role in the economic and cultural vitality of Placer County. Our county's culture is thriving, characterized by unique artistic expression and rich cultural heritage that attracts people from various locales. With the support of the AEP6, we're elevating our arts scene, aligning with both regional and national trends. The partnership not only showcases our local talent, but also reinforces the arts as a fundamental part of our community. As we look ahead, let's recognize the arts as essential to our economic fabric and well-being. The insights gained will empower us to champion sustained investment in the arts, underscoring their importance in fostering economic and cultural growth. Before I introduce Randy Cohen to speak further on this, I want to thank everyone who played a part in today's event. Your dedication to the arts and our community's future is invaluable. Together, we're setting the stage for a vibrant cultural and economic leadership landscape in Placer County. Now, to give you a better understanding of the expert joining us today, let's delve into Randy Cohen's biography. Randy Cohen is Vice President of Research at the Americans for the Arts, the national advocacy organization for the arts, where he has been empowering art advocates since 1991. Mr. Cohen is known for balancing rigorous research methods with accessible and actionable results. His work at Americans for the Arts has provided new perspectives on the nonprofit arts. He recently published Arts and Economic Prosperity 6, The Economic Impact of Nonprofit Arts and Cultural Organizations and Their Audiences. That's a long title. And Americans Speak Out About the Arts in 2023, a national public opinion study about the arts. Randy led the development of the National Arts Index, the annual measure of the health and vitality of arts in the U.S., and the National Arts Policy Roundtable, an annual convening of leaders who focus on, let me turn this page, advancement of American culture. Launched in partnership with Robert Redford and the Sundance Institute. Very impressive. He is the 2024 recipient of the Sidney Yates Advocacy Award for Outstanding Advocacy on behalf of the performing arts in America. His 10 Reasons to Support the Arts blog received the Gold Award from the Association of Media and Publishing. Congratulations. Their top honor for Best Blog Post of the Year. A sought-after speaker, Randy has given speeches in all 50 states and regularly appears in the news media, including the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and on C-SPAN, CNN, CNBC, and NPR. Please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Mr. Randy Cohen.
Thank you. Very kind introduction. I appreciate it. Thanks, Supervisor. It's what a delight it is to be here. I grew up in the Bay Area. I'm a California boy. I've been in DC a long time, but anytime I can come back, it's just wonderful. So we got a good news story to talk about today, and as you heard from the supervisor, we're going to expand the way we think and talk about the arts. Right? Everybody loves the arts, right? They inspire us. They make us feel creative. They create the communities we want to live and work in. But they do so much more than that. They've got a real pragmatic aspect to them as well. And we're going to talk about some of that today, specifically, at least at the outset, the economic benefits of the arts. Not to speak for our local elected leaders, but ask most elected leaders their three priorities, and they'll tell you jobs, jobs, and jobs. That's not too far from the truth, is it? Right? So, and we're going to connect, arts and culture to jobs, to government revenue, and to tourism and economic development. And then we're actually going to expand that conversation out a little bit more. Even if you're an elected leader and you support the arts, you got to be able to champion it with your other elected leaders. So we all want to walk out of here with a quiver full of case-making arrows today on behalf of the arts. So I want to thank everybody for being here today, and the members of the arts community especially. It has been a challenging couple of years for the arts in this country. The pandemic was just devastating for the arts. It's really created the most challenging environment in generations for arts and culture. And don't take my word for it, at Johns Hopkins University, they track employment at all of the nation's nonprofit organizations. There's about 1.6 million nonprofits out there. 110,000 of them are arts and culture ones. Arts nonprofits lost jobs at 5 times the rate of all nonprofits. Now, we've reopened and we've come back, but the hiring, all the jobs haven't come back. So if you're running an arts organization, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. That might be a reason. We're doing the work. We haven't got all the people back yet. 99% of arts and culture organizations in this country suspended operations, canceled performances, closed temporarily, some never reopened. And even the Bureau of Economic Analysis, top economics shop on the planet, they did a huge study looking at the impact of the pandemic on arts and culture, on the nation's economy. And they look at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of industries. And we all heard about tourism and lodging and everybody, but they called out the arts, specifically the performing arts, as one of the most devastated industries. So challenging time. Interestingly, though, not every arrow was pointing downward during the pandemic for the arts. There was one that was crazy upward, and that was personal creation. People making art personally. I do a big national public opinion study every couple of years, did one last summer, and 37% of the American public said, oh yeah, I actually tried some kind of new arts, culture, music, craft, culinary. Really, how many loaves of sourdough bread were on your doorstep the last couple of years? Amazon was writing these articles about this mysterious spike in ukulele sales, right? So many people tried. Did anybody try anything new? And that they want to volunteer, maybe, like what they tried?
Ukulele.
Oh, there we go. All right, proof positive. How about you? Painting. Excellent. I have heard people write their first novel, poetry, painters who went to metalwork and metalworkers who went to textile work. And I actually took up knitting during the pandemic. I watched everything on Hulu, watched everything on Netflix. I didn't want to get off the couch, but I knew I had to do something else, right? And I always kind of wanted to do it. My grandmother, my aunts, they knit. I love the clickety-clack of the needles. And now's the time. So I ordered the supplies. A neighbor taught me how to do it. I got to tell you, though, when you remember back to the uncertainty of the time, and there was the isolation and everything, but for me, the biggest thing was like, when and what does the other side of this look like? And is there any role for me there? And the arts and crafts and cooking, just all those creative activities really kind of pulled me out of that. I'm not very good. I make the world's longest scarves. But it was just so meditative. It was just such a mitigator of, the feelings in the environment. Eventually, of course, it was time to get back out of the house again, and my wife and we're in the DC area and we got all the museums. We thought, well, maybe a museum's a nice, easy way to start. Lots of options and kind of keep our space and all that type of thing. Now that I am a fiber artist, that's a laugh line. Come on, it's okay. Yeah, so we've got a wonderful textile museum in Washington, D.C. We'd never been there. We thought, well, let's try the textile museum, and I can join my fellow fiber artists. And so were they open, anything like that? So what do? Well, we went online. We found their website, and they were open, and here were their hours, and, this was the safety protocol, wear your mask, keep your distance, and a little bit about some of the exhibitions that we were going to see that they were showing, and we thought, all right, let's do it. So we clicked a button, pulled out the credit card, punched in our credit card number, bought our tickets, we're all set to go. Saturday comes, we jump in the car and we drive downtown and we park in a parking garage, $10, get my stub from the guy. And from there, on the way to the museum, we stopped and had lunch first. Right? Isn't that something we do? When we have an arts or a culture experience, we make an event out of it so often. It's dinner and a show, or maybe we travel somewhere and spend the night, or, if you got little ones at home, double the cost evening on babysitting, right? The real racket, I think, in all of this. But so we went to a wonderful restaurant downtown. It's called Founding Farmers, and seeing some heads nod. It's farm to fork, and, everything's grown within 50 miles. Was not a cheap lunch. We spent $70, that's a pricey lunch for us, just going downtown. And then, but we took our time. It was lovely. And then it was a couple, half dozen block walk to the museum. And, we walked in and we got our program. And I can tell you my first sensory experience of the museum, it really wasn't of the awe of the 1,000-year-old tapestry or like, oh my gosh, those incredible quilts as part of the exhibit. It was the air conditioning, because it was August in Washington, D.C., and it was like a bazillion degrees outside. Yeah, and the humidity, and I got in there, it's like, oh, I already love this place. We haven't seen anything, So, and then we spent the afternoon and we saw the different exhibits. We heard a talk by a curator, and on the way up, we spent some money in the gift shop and everything. And so kind of pause there a second and roll back the tape a few days. Think of all the industries that were touched related to this one. Randy finally gets out of the house, to get to a culture event. Well, it actually started before we left the house, because we went online and we found their website. We all take that for granted. Arts organizations have websites, but that means they also have web designers and programmers and pay for internet service. And, they have to populate the site with photography and writing. We bought our tickets online, right? So they got the e-commerce and the finance people. They're getting a little piece of that action. And then Saturday comes, we drive downtown, we park in the parking garage. I'll tell you, that part of the city, during the week, you can't get a spot. You got to show up to that garage at 5:30 in the morning. On the weekend, if it wasn't for those arts organizations, it would be closed, because nothing else going on down in that part of the city. That guy that gave me a stub, my ticket stub, that's a job. The companies that own and operate that parking garage, those are local businesses. And then it was off to the restaurants, right? And we spent $70, and some of those dollars are going to the local growers and producers of the food, everybody within 50 miles. And there's a trucking company every morning, that's delivering all the produce. So that all those industries, the waiter's bringing home some personal income, the owner of the restaurant, some entrepreneurial income. So all of that activity, and then 6 hot, sweaty block walk to the museum, and it's got beautiful modern architecture and everything. And we went in and we got our program. You ever notice every time you go to an arts event, you're always getting paper? It's a program, it's a postcard, it's a flyer. There's a graphic artist that's been paid to design all of that. Printers make bank off the arts. If you just add up all the printing costs, and it's always glossy coated paper and full color, and of course, thousands and thousands of units for all the attendees. So just even the programs. There's all those businesses. I can't imagine what their utility bill is, I mean, to pay for a huge art space, to keep it cool in the summer and warm in the winter. But, those are dollars going out the door to local businesses. And then, we started to have the arts experience. And if people think about the arts, if as an industry, it's usually when, they hear a talk from a curator, they see the performers, but the fact is, arts organizations also employ all kinds of other industries. If you're an arts organization, you've got accountants and auditors, you've got electricians and plumbers and security staff, and you got marketing people and, box office folks. So arts organizations employ a whole range of industries across the community. And that's what we're doing here with the Arts and Economic Prosperity Study, looking at the economic and social impact of our nonprofit arts and culture organizations in our communities. Spending by the organizations, plus the event-related spending by us, the attendees. That makes sense? We good? All right. So let's just talk a little bit about what we did real quick. This is a national study, 373 study regions across the country, including Placer County. Did everybody catch that technical effect? That was all me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And we're in all 50 states. We studied in Puerto Rico, studied communities as small as 4,000 people, as large as 4 million people. If the arts are happening in a community, it doesn't matter if it's a big urban city, a small rural community, there is economic impact happening as well. So, national study. A couple things about the study real quick. You heard the word a couple times. We focus on the nonprofit arts and culture industry. And he's already doing that Washington, D.C. thing with his fingers. What's he hiding, right? Well, not really hiding, but it's a little more expansive than that. So yes, our nonprofits, but in some communities, the smaller communities, underserved communities, it might be an arts program that the library provides, or a social service organization, or a faith-based institution. So we would include that. We don't count the whole library budget, just the arts program, right? What's not included is Hollywood Motion Pictures, the commercial art galleries, architecture firms, the university drama departments, all fundamental part of our, cultural ecology, but not part of this study. And why? Because typically when government or business funds and invests in the arts, that's where those dollars are going, to those nonprofit arts and culture organizations. And it's an appropriate question to ask. What's the public's ROI for that? What is the public getting for its funding? Everyone will stipulate cultural benefits, right? Most people won't argue with that. But, what else? What other priorities, are the arts ticking off? And economics is a big one of those. So it's nonprofit. We take a very rigorous and reliable approach to economic impact. I've got a team of economists. We use what's called an in-plan platform, and it's the same economic analysis system that over 1,000 cities subscribe to, and cities and counties, local government. So if it's good enough for local governments everywhere, it's good enough for us. But what that enables us to do, and this is the important part, is to customize input-output analysis models for every community that we study. So, and that's because every community's economy is a little bit different. $50 spent here is going to have a different economic impact than $50 spent in San Francisco or Eureka or anywhere else in the country. Very localized economic impact figures. So, nonprofit, reliable. Last piece I'll say, conservative. Working with the Arts Council, they surveyed the arts and culture organizations in the region, in the county. We received data from 34 of those organizations, and thank you for all the participating organizations. That's what we go with. That's the data we use. We make no estimates for non-respondents. So every number we can talk about today, we can put our hands all over, but also realize there's actually even more out there. So this is a really good news story, and it's a really well done study. We've been doing it for 30 years. It's been vetted by the White House Council of Economic Advisors and economists and folks, banks and people everywhere. So what did we find out? Well, so the first thing we look at is total economic activity, spending by the arts and culture organizations and their audiences. $26.1 million, and this is for 2022, right here in Placer County. That is a local figure. And that number is actually composed of two numbers. First is spending by the organizations, just those 34, $13 million. And that is a myth buster. Again, right? We love the arts and these wonderful community amenities, but we're businesses. We employ people locally. We purchase goods and services from other businesses in the community. We're members of the Chamber of Commerce. We drive tourism and market and promote the region. Arts organizations are good business citizens. And that right there is a story that has to be told because, again, it's not an intuitive way to think about the arts. Now, arts organizations have an economic impact. That's, but no surprise, and everything has an economic impact. I just give you a $5 bill, my economist will chase you around. I watched her spend it. I put it in the model, and here's the economic impact. But few industries generate that event-related spending that the arts do, right? And that's the meals, that's the lodging, it's all those related spending. So you add that up, $13.1 million. So what we're going to talk about now is what's the economic impact of $26.1 million. And the first thing we look at, jobs. 436 jobs supported right here in Placer County just as a result of spending by arts and culture organizations and their audiences. Little something about arts jobs. First, these are necessarily local jobs. This is not an industry that's going to be offshored. We need the curators to hang the art, the performers to, perform. We need the arts educators in the schools and the arts therapists in the hospitals, and also this is the hospitality, right? Dollars, right? You can't have your waiter, working from, someplace overseas, right? I mean, you need the people in the room, local jobs. So remember, these aren't just artists. These aren't just employees of arts and culture organizations. These are jobs in all those industries across the community. Bottom line, arts, not just food for the soul, putting food on the table for 436 households right here in Placer County. What else do we look at? Government revenue, $4.8 million in local, state, and federal government revenue. People will support, like, okay, yeah, maybe we can fund the arts in good times, but maybe it's hard to justify in, challenging economic or social times. What this study shows is that those dollars, arts dollars, aren't on some one-way trip out of town, but rather it's an investment. It's an investment that brings a return to local, state, and federal government. And so small investments, big returns. That's the arts. So another really good story. Let's start to talk about this audience piece, though, because this is really the value-added aspect, and we really see the economic development and tourism strength here. Working with the Arts Council, right, we surveyed 829 attendees at a whole range of events across the county, performing arts, visual arts, free open-air festivals, we got a good representative sample. The typical attendee spends $38.39 per person per event, not including the cost of admission. So look at all these pieces of the pie. Not one of those is admission. So you got, up there at the, food and drink, there was our $70 lunch, and below that, that was our $10 parking. Some of you might be looking at, wow, can you find a babysitter for 76 cents or a hotel room for $2.95, and would you want either if you could get them? No, you wouldn't. Nationally, just to give you an idea of the size and scale of this, we did 224,000 audience intercept surveys. We translated these surveys into 24 languages, so all kinds of communities, cultures, race, ethnicities can feel welcome and part of this study. Other, though, is always fascinating. You ask 200,000 people for an open-ended question. There's some very colorful ones. But actually, one of my favorite ones is there was a farmer in Wisconsin who paid somebody $60 to milk his cows so he could go to the theater that night. Isn't that great? People are doing what it takes to get to the arts, and so, of course, I probably have to add dairy to the survey next time. I don't know. We'll see. In addition to how much did you spend related to this arts event, in fact, when you look at the lodging there, you see it says one night only. Usually, like if you look at tourism data, people count maybe 3 nights or something, and that's a totally legitimate way to do it. But we're asking about your spending related to this arts event. And so if there's an overnight, it's just 1 night. And so that's why, why I write that. So it's another conservative approach. We're trying not to take credit for the work of other industries here, focus it on the arts. We ask people for their zip code because we want to find out, do they live in Placer County, which would make them local? Or are they from outside the county, which would make them non-local? 26% of attendees came from outside the county. And do they spend differently? Of course they do. More on lodging, more on food and transportation. $53.28 per person per event, not including admission. Now, we asked all those attendees one more question, because we're just that annoying. And that was those non-local attendees, why are you here? We're glad you're here. Thanks for coming. But are you here on business? You're here visiting friends and family? 2 very common reasons people travel. 77% of the non-local attendees said, we came specifically for this arts event. So you can really see the pulling power that the arts have, right? And then we asked folks who do live in the county, locals, well, what if this arts event wasn't taking place? Would you stayed home, done something else? We gave people a bunch of options. 62%, almost 2/3 said, well, I traveled to a different community to attend a similar kind of arts event. When people have that arts and culture or kind of itch, they're going to scratch it, and they can do it right here in town. They can do it somewhere else. So back to that lodging number. So 26% of attendees are from outside the county. 7% of those folks have a lodging cost, and they average close to $275 per person, right? So, you get that head in a bed. That's when the cash registers really start ringing. If you're a local business, you love this arts community, this vibrant arts and culture community. Just those 34 responding organizations, 341,000 attendees, right? So the arts are putting heads in beds, cheeks in seats, derrieres and cafe chairs, right? They're really they're a good news story for local businesses. All right, we asked those attendees another question, which a couple questions, because, what's the flip side of economic impact? It's Thursday, we might be thinking, well, what are we going to do this weekend? We got 3 options. Probably one of our filters is not, well, let's see which has got the best economic impact, and we'll do that. It's probably not the case. It might be. I'm not going to speak for everybody. We asked folks these questions about really what do the arts mean to them more personally. So, we got the financial money, dollars, and these numbers are really spectacular. These are higher than the national averages. So, about 90% of attendees say this arts and culture event is a source of pride and community identity. Similar percentage, I feel a sense of loss if this arts and culture event weren't available. And I think one of the most interesting ones, almost 9 in 10 said, it's important to me that this event or this venue be available for future generations. That tells me is that when we attend an arts event, it's not just like a one-time transactional kind of moment. It's like, there, I did it, now I forget about it or something. But it's really goes deeper. It's part of our community, our history, our heritage, where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And so these numbers are just so strong by local attendees, non-local attendees, and I think it's just such a really powerful story about what the arts mean to people in this community. We asked another question, and by the way, I guess now's a good time to say, on the Arts Council website, you can download this full report. Everything I talk about is in the report. It's 58 pages. It's all clearly written. We let our economists take a first cut at it, and then we bring in real communicators to help it make sense to everybody else. So, because if you can't understand what it is, you're not going to turn it into an arts advocacy tool. So you can feel good about using that report. Just those 34 organizations, 1,743 volunteers that contributed over 89,000 hours. It's the volunteer army that helps keep our arts and culture organizations vibrant, serving the community, and that's also part of providing all these benefits. Now, because we're commodifying everything today, you can actually put a dollar value on that too. So there's an organization in Washington, D.C. It's called the Independent Sector. They study nonprofits and they study volunteers in the U.S. And in 2022 in California, they put the value of the average volunteer hour, doesn't matter where or whatever, $37.32. So you do the math, and you've got $3.3 million of value just of the volunteerism. Now, that's not part of the $26.1 million because there's not really any dollars changing hands here, but that's the value. And if you're an arts organization or you're here at the university doing development, you can calculate this on your own and just use that figure right there. It's people supporting the arts and culture with their feet, with their time, with their industry. And so a really great story there. As I mentioned, I'm in Washington, D.C., and as many of you may know, Washington, D.C. is the land of national organizations. There are so many national organizations in Washington, D.C., there's actually a national organization for the national organizations. But you can make this work for you because look at some of our partners. These organizations are all partners on your study. When you download that report from the Arts Council, turn to the back cover and you'll see like the National Association of Counties there. And that's where county supervisors and county managers go. NACO was in Washington just a couple of weeks ago. I was 3 Sundays ago speaking to 100 county arts leaders about economic impact. It was a 20-minute talk that turned into a 45-minute talk because from there we went into about the arts and education, arts and mental health, and all kinds of other issues. The nation's mayors, they go to the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Maybe you're a business leader. You pay attention to what the conference board has to say. Or if you're a tourism person, they all get together with Destinations International, city managers. They go to ICMA, International City County Management Association. National partners on your study because, one, they too believe arts, culture, fundamental component of a healthy community, and two, they buy into the methodology and they buy into the results. Trust me, if they thought this thing was going to stink down the road, they're not going to get anywhere near it, right? So you can feel really confident using these data. And when you go and you talk to your elected, your business, your community leaders, flip it over. Remember to talk about that because it really lifts the credibility of the study, right? We all pay attention to our peers, in the industry, right? And so this adds a lot of value. Interestingly, the public gets this as well, not just our community leaders. So now we're back to my national public opinion study, largest public opinion study of its kind ever conducted. 86% of the American public says arts create more livable communities, improve quality of life. That's not a huge surprise, right? We'd expect that. 79% agree the arts, good for local business, good for local jobs, good for local economy. The public gets this as well, too, because you know what? They remember, oh, yeah, $38.39. Yeah, you know what? We do spend a lot of money when we go to an arts event. Now, here's the thing. You'll hear me say this a couple times. Thinking about the arts as a business, as an industry, is not an intuitive way to think about the arts. We need to kind of just put that out there and remind folks. But once people hear it, it's like, oh, yeah, totally. I can totally see that. Here's an interesting thing, though, about those numbers. Both of those figures are higher than the share of the population that actually attends the arts. More people value the arts than go to the arts. Isn't that interesting? And I think the way that means or looks is, I may not go to the museum or something like that, but boy, when my mother visits, thank God for the museum, So, something she will love to do. So, people value the arts. Economists call that existence value, just the fact that it's there is an important part of a healthy, vibrant, well-rounded community. All right, so that is nonprofit arts and culture in Placer County. Right? So it's $26.1 million industry, 436 jobs supported, $4.8 million of government revenue. That right there is a story, is a headline, one that we need to make sure everybody knows about. But as like when we started, like, well, I'm sure you're thinking, what about the rest of the arts, in this country or in this community, this state? So we've been doing these studies for 30 years. The federal government's actually got into the whole act here of economic impact. And at the U.S. Department of Commerce, that's where Bureau of Economic Analysis is, they do something called the Arts and Cultural Productions Satellite Account. And so they started, nonprofit, that's good. And they widened the lens to include motion picture industry, Broadway, the university drama, dance, music departments, artists, gig workers, import, export, publishing, architecture. They looked at the whole economy. They pulled out every arts dollar that they could find. Nationally, this is 2021, they ping arts and culture as a $1.02 trillion industry in this country. That is 4.4% of the nation's economy. And huge, right? That's the first time in 2021 it's actually crossed $1 trillion. And they now do state versions of this, which is great. And so up at the top there, you can see California's numbers. Right here in the Golden State in 2021, $261 billion industry. That is 7.7% of the nation's economy, 742,000 jobs. Is that a lot or a little? That's bigger than construction. It's bigger than transportation, agriculture. It's a huge industry. One of the interesting things that the economists have also found, because they've been doing this a dozen years now, and of course they're all like, ooh, we want some of this. They have found a causal relationship between a growth in arts jobs and a growth in all employment. So if you're looking to grow all employment, a growth in arts jobs will get you there. It gets there because remember all the different types of industries we support, we employ. It diversifies the economy. The arts have been shown that they can do well when other industries are not. So that's a really powerful story. The Department of Agriculture, they're like, wait, don't leave us out. Their research shows in rural counties with 4 or more performing arts organizations have significantly higher numbers of creative economy businesses based on copyrights and patents and all that type of thing than rural counties with fewer than 4. So, we see it touching all kinds of economies in all kinds of different ways. So these are great numbers. The government is actually, worth wondering is why do they even do this? And the fact that they even do this study is just as important as the numbers. Because how do you prosper in this global economy we're in? You innovate, right? We're in an innovation economy. And this is an acknowledgement that to innovate, you got to be able to be creative. And to be creative, we need arts and culture. If you want innovation to go up, you got to push down here on the arts. Because they study hundreds and hundreds of industries. They only do a couple dozen of these satellite accounts. So the fact that they do it is an important story. You know what? The business community gets this as well. So this is a report by the conference board. It's called Ready to Innovate, and you can Google it and find it online if you want. Again, the conference board, that's the national organization for big business in this country. If you're a Fortune 1000 CEO, this is where you go, for information. Their research shows creativity now among the top 5 applied skills business leaders are looking for. It's even leapfrogged the 3 R's. Now, as researchers like, well, of course you have to be able to read, write, and do math. But if you could take your creativity and apply that to your scientific, your engineering, your coding, your agriculture knowledge, those are the high-paying jobs we're all trying to attract to our community, right? 72% of business leaders say creativity is of high importance in hiring. 85% of those folks say we're struggling to find the people we're looking for. And so the researchers asked these business leaders, like, all right, we acknowledge there's no typing test, for creativity. How do you know if you got a creative person across from you, during the interview? And there were two indicators way at the top. First, starting your own business, entrepreneurial activity, and second, study of the arts, especially while in college. And here we are, right? So students, I got to tell you, it was a few years ago I went to college, but they used to tell people, if you weren't going in the arts, scrape that off your resume, because it meant you weren't looking serious about, whatever your industry was, right? I'm seeing a couple of heads nod here. Now, man, make sure it's on there, because that's an indicator that business leaders are looking for. We had a banker who was the board chair of Americans for the Arts for a couple of years. And at the same time he was chair of the Americans for the Arts Board, he was also chair of the American Banking Association Board. So big time banker, right? He would say, I always ask the people I was interviewing about their level of arts involvement, because for him, it was a proxy for creativity. Oh, then he'd always quip, except for my bank tellers. I don't want creative bank tellers, but everybody else, we want. So, yeah, and then that actually connects to just the whole workforce issue, 21st century workforce. I get to a lot of cities, and I'll just say this, in the past 6 months, I've been in 5 communities where I've heard both elected and or business leaders say, our number one export is highly educated young people. Devastating, right? How do you build an economy around that? And these communities are like, we got to stop the brain drain here, And so they ask these, recent graduates and people leaving, it's day after graduation, I got my ticket for, Austin or Seattle or Silicon Valley or something. We loved you, we raised you, we educated you, and now you're leaving us. What would keep you here? And the answer is always the same, and it's like it's an international phenomenon now too. You want me to be creative and innovative in the workplace. I'm a creative and innovative person. I want to live in a community with arts and culture and maker spaces and festivals and music scene. I want my kids to be able to get an arts education. So this is another kind of economic benefit that we get with a vibrant arts community, right? It's attracting people and workers to the community, or keeping them here where they started. And that, of course, makes a really important case for arts education. I honestly think this is one of the most important things we can be doing today. The research is so clear about how academic performance is improved with students who have an education rich in the arts. There was a UCLA researcher named James Catterall, and he studied longitudinal data on a national data set of 25,000 students at 1,000 different schools across the country, right? It's a big national sample. And one of the things he did is he divided those 25,000 students into 4 quartiles based on their level of arts involvement. So up here, practices violin 3 hours a day, is in the jazz band. Down here, well, I got to the museum once or twice last year, and compared academic performance. And you probably know where this will go. Those art students, better grades, better test scores, lower dropout rates, better attitudes about community service, right? We're always thinking about engagement, community engagement with our young people. But because we're here at the university, and we're all astute, critics of research and, critical. And so you're, thinking the same question that he anticipated as well. Well, yeah, but aren't those students perhaps from, more affluent or better educated families? You'd expect them to do better. So what he did is he went back to his universe of 25,000 students and looked at just the lowest socioeconomic quartile. Students in Title I schools, students who live in low-income communities. And he did the same analysis and found not only did the results hold, there was an even greater disparity between the arts involved and the non-arts involved students, helping education researchers think, maybe the arts help level the playing field, or students who got a late start to catch up. Now, actually put that study right there for a second, because every decade or so, the U.S. Department of Education does a big national look at the provision of arts education in this country. And, over the decades, it's sort of up and down a little bit fractionally. Mostly it's dynamic, at different communities. Oh, we had it, we lost it. Except what they've observed in the last several decades is a huge drop-off in arts education for those very students in low-income communities in Title I schools. So the students who stand to gain the most from it are the ones who are losing it the fastest. And the Secretary of Education called this a civil rights issue because the research is so clear about the benefit to these young people just getting through school. And, we know those, what that means looking at the future. But James Catterall actually looked at these students into their 20s, even as young adults, the arts-involved students, more likely to be in career-oriented jobs, more likely to have some college going. So just one of the most important things I think we can be doing, as we think about, and it's not just to build the next generation of musicians and performers. That'll happen. We're just trying to create more well-rounded kids, right? So this is what this looks like in action. This is a happy-looking fella just a couple hours south of us, Stanford University guy, got the Nobel Prize for Medicine. And a reporter called him up and was like, "Professor, congratulations," and asked him, "Who was your most influential teacher?" And he probably thought he'll like, "Oh, I'll never forget my high school biology teacher," or something. No, without missing a beat, he said, "I owe it all to my bassoon teacher." And he talked about how it was his arts education that gave him the habits of mind that made him a great scientist. Pattern recognition, drive for excellence, ability to deal with ambiguity, and multiple solutions. And there's other research that shows this may not be just some isolated event. There's a Michigan State University researcher named Robert Root Bernstein, Root-Bernstein, and he has studied creativity his whole career, and he's a MacArthur Genius Award winner and all that kind of stuff. One of the things he and his team did is they looked at all the Nobel laureates in the sciences going back to the beginning and compared their level of arts involvement to scientists at two scientific societies, one in the US, one in the UK. Nobel laureates, 17 times more likely to be actively involved and engaged as musicians, as painters. So something there, something's going on there. Let me just give you one more of these, because now we're just talking about, right, healthier communities through the arts. Back to my public opinion survey, 72% of the American public says the arts create an opportunity for shared experiences with people of different race, ethnicity, faith, age. Similar percentage, when dealing with important community issues, the arts create a safe space for those conversations. 63% say they help me understand other cultures in my community. So yes, everybody's thinking about jobs and education, but we're also thinking about how do we unify our communities, and the arts are there for that. So let me wrap up with this picture here from Paris in 1913. Bad news at the Louvre. The Mona Lisa was stolen, and that's where it had been hanging. And in the 2 years that it was gone before they got it back, more people went to see where it had been hanging. Yeah, you know where this is going. And saw the painting itself in the previous 14 years. It's so easy to take arts and culture for granted, to assume our artists, will always be there in the community. But we've all got a job to do. We've all got to find a way to support the arts in as many ways that we can. If you're a business, sponsor, an arts event. We were at our morning event this morning, and the Oak, what's the name? Oak. Fig Tree provided the coffee and all that type of thing. I went over there afterwards. I frequented it, and I was talking to the manager there, and she said, 7 years ago, this street, was just nothing happening. But then the arts organizations came in, and it's just been so hot. Said without the arts on our block, we wouldn't survive. So I mean, that's our business leaders have so much to say about that. So we have to do something about that as individuals. When you make your contributions, remember the arts. It's not the only thing. That's just part of a healthy community. Volunteer. We all saw about the power of that. Encourage government funding for the arts. Absolutely, governments should fund the arts. But when you hear somebody say like, well, I don't know if that's the appropriate role, or I don't think we can afford it, you have an opportunity now to correct those folks. Because, can we afford not to? And then really attend, your leadership. And just being there, is a huge statement as well. Everything you do to advance the arts is important. And you're important for doing it. Thanks very much. Thank you. Sure.
So, thank you, Randy, for enabling us to tell the Placer County story. So, I would be remiss if I did not share with you, Arts Council Placer County is celebrating its 40th anniversary.
Ooh.
And that is made possible because we've got some hardworking, dedicated people who I really truly need to make sure that you know who they are. Patrick, Darcy, Catherine, and John, Jim, I apologize, Jim Carnegie. So thank you guys. And the mighty, powerful Barbara Bird. So thank you for all you do. And I also, just like President Duncan and Stacy, that relationship, they let the board think that we are doing some things as well. So I want to make sure I acknowledge our board members who are in the room, Gloria, and then Sierra, right? Yeah. Okay, and some others. So thank you guys so much.